What's up everyone and welcome back. This is Kara Corey here, and today I am going to make a Thanksgiving treat for you guys, being that the holidays are coming. This will be a great recipe that you guys can utilize if you want a little something indulgent this holiday season, but you don't want to have any guilt associated whatsoever. So today I'm going to make for you my pumpkin protein cheesecake. This recipe is very simple with the ingredients that we're going to use, but what you're going to want to do is cook it the day before you're going to want to eat it. It tastes better if you chill it overnight. Worst case scenario, a few hours in the fridge, but I would recommend you prep this a day in advance and let it chill overnight. So to get started, you're going to want to preheat your oven to 325 degrees. And what I'm going to bake my cheesecake in, which I find works perfect, is just one of these glass Pyrex bowls. I don't know the size of it, but it's just a regular size, I guess. And I throw some wax paper in there because it makes it really easy to cut the cheesecake and remove the slices. To mix, my favorite of all time is just throwing everything in a bowl and mixing it together, so it makes it very easy. So the first thing we're going to add is a combination of Greek yogurt and cream cheese, which really makes it that cheesecake type flavor. So to keep fat low, I am using a 0% plain Greek yogurt. If you want to use a sweetened variety, you can. I find it doesn't need it because of the other flavors we're adding in there. So we're going to add 12 ounces of the plain fat-free Greek yogurt, and that's just going to go right into our bowl. And then, like I mentioned, we're going to use cream cheese with it. Again, up to you if you want to do just like a light cream cheese or reduced fat, you can. I use the fat-free cream cheese, and honestly, you can't really taste a huge difference whether you use the fat-free or if you use like a third less fat, so I just prefer to use the fat-free and spare the fat. So I'm going to do 8 ounces of this, and what I've done is I've let the cream cheese sit out for a bit at room temperature so it is nice and soft. If you don't do that or you forget to do that, you can throw it in the microwave for a little bit just to kind of heat it up. Don't overheat it because then it cooks it, and I think it kind of makes a difference in how your recipe tastes. So you've got your yogurt, your cream cheese. Next thing we're going to add is some pumpkin. This is going to enhance it to make it that pumpkin cheesecake flavor. So I'm not using this is like the Mama Jamma size can of pumpkin here. We're just going to add in 15 ounces of this. And this is going to add a great source of carbs to the recipe, and not overly carb dense, but it's going to add a great source of fiber to the recipe too. So it's going to be nice and filling and taste like Thanksgiving. So 15 ounces of that. The last of our wet ingredients is going to be 2 eggs, and I like to use 2 full eggs, so I do use the yolk in this. If you prefer to not use the yolk and use just the egg whites, I've heard that works really well with it too. But since I've already kept the fat very low, I want the fat from the egg yolk. Plus there's a lot of good nutrition in egg yolks, so it is good to kind of have that in the mix. Good source of B vitamins. So I've got 2 full egg yolks in there. I already whipped them up a little bit. But now since we've got all the wet ingredients in there, before we add everything else, I just kind of want to blend it together, make sure the cream cheese, the yogurt, everything kind of mixes together before we add the dry ingredients. For our protein in this recipe, I'm going to use the last of my MTS pumpkin pie, and I'm using a little over 2 scoops, like 2 1/4 scoops of protein. You don't have to use pumpkin for this recipe if you don't have it, because we are adding pumpkin in here, so it's going to taste pumpkin-y anyways, but I prefer to add it. So 2 1/4 scoops of pumpkin pie protein. Vanilla, caramel, anything like that would work nice too. For a sweetener, I'm using Splenda with this, and I've got measured out 3/4 of a cup, so that tends to be a good amount of sweetness for me. And for spices, I'm just going to sprinkle in some cinnamon. Measure that, and I am going to add some pumpkin pie spice as well. Again, if you don't have these on hand, it's not going to make or break the recipe, but it does add in those extra Thanksgiving flavors. And last, I am going to measure this out for once. I'm using some pure vanilla extract, and I'm just going to add in a teaspoon of that. So once we've got those added in there, we're going to go ahead and Mix that up good one more time. Make sure it's nice and creamy and well blended. All right guys, once you have everything all stirred up, I just use a rubber spatula and go ahead and pour all of that into your bowl. And I just make sure it's nice and even. And then what we're gonna do is go ahead and put this in the oven at 325 degrees for 30 minutes. Then we're gonna reduce the heat of the oven to 200 degrees and continue cooking it for 50 minutes. All right guys, our pumpkin cheesecake is all done, taken out of the oven. What I recommend you do is let it sit out and cool just a little bit before you cover it and put it right into the fridge. So I like to let it sit out for about an hour. Try to show that to you guys. So as I mentioned before, the key to this cheesecake having the right consistency is gonna be to allow it to chill overnight. Even if you can allow it to chill 24 hours before consuming it, that's where it's really going to get to the right consistency and thickness of the cheesecake. Now what I like to do is cut this into 4 slices, but you could absolutely cut this into 8 pieces depending on how much you want. The macros are really good either way. You can eat this whole thing and not have to worry about it too much, you know what I'm saying? Because the macros are so great on this. So I hope you guys give this recipe a try and have yourselves a great Thanksgiving week.